My name is Jason Eisener, and I am the director, co-writer, and editor of Kids vs. Aliens, and you're listening to the Horror Squad podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Horror Squad podcast, episode number 261. Tonight we're talking about 2023's M3gan, which is currently in theaters. We also have an interview, but before we talk about who that is, I'm your co-host Todd. We have Steve and Joe. Boys, what's going on?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Who's the interview? Who we got?
Tonight we have Jason Eisener, who is the director of Kids vs. Aliens, new 2023 horror movie. Me and Steve are going to be giving our review of that during What Watched, but horror fans might also know him from Hobo with the Shotgun. He also did a segment in VHS 2, which Kids vs. Aliens is based off of, and then he also did a segment in ABC's The Death 2, which I can't say which one that is because I haven't watched that in forever, but yeah. So yeah, good interview, super nice guy, talked a lot of fun stuff, so yeah, stick around.
Yeah, he also did the Dark Side of the Ring series, which we mentioned in the past, which is like showing wrestling stories, but from a really kind of dark standpoint. If ever you like pro wrestling, I think it's like a must watch. So definitely talented guy and great interview. Short, it's only like 15 minutes long, but he had a lot of cool stuff to say in that 15 minutes. So welcome back, Todd. How's it going? You're moved again or moving?
Moved again. Part 1 of 4 of the great move. I'm going to open up a business, cross-country moving. I will guide you through the process because it's going to be my 4th time moving across the country. So that's always fun. It sucks balls, but hey, I'm here. Kentucky's cool. It's snowed a little bit already, which I missed. I know, Steve, you hate the snow, but it's a different level snow over here, pal. It's not 40 feet like you get. But yeah, just doing my thing, starting the new job, which is going really well, and slowly getting back into the swing of things.
We could have used you for cross-country moving when we moved Sam here because it took like 45 days for Sam's stuff to get here.
45?
Insane. Yeah, they had it in stores and they're like, oh, we're just waiting for another like truck to get like to be able to go that way. And like I was literally on the phone with them like every single day for like 45 days. And I'm like, when the fuck is our stuff coming? And then they delivered it. We moved in. It was like sometime November when we moved here, and then they delivered it on Christmas Day. I'll never forget
Christmas Day. Wow.
Christmas Day.
Fuck up your business.
Yeah. And I was like, worst company ever. I wrote like a scathing review to like online. I can't remember the name of the company, but if anyone's ever moving cross country, like message me first. I'll tell you, do not ever use this company because it was like the fucking worst experience ever. And the amount of money we paid. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap. It's like $7,000 to get all that shit done. So I'm doing it by myself though, so that's fun. I have to drive 15 hours each way.
Oh man.
But oh well, it's cheaper. What about you guys?
What's my week been like here? I can't think of anything too exciting. I played VR golf with a couple guys the other day and they kicked my ass, so that was fun. Steve and Todd for the listeners. Yeah, we had a little VR golf night the other night, played some walkabout mini golf, played the Labyrinth course, which was pretty fun. I had a good time on that one. And we played, what was the other one we played? Was it like Space-ish or something? Mist, that's right. Which I've never played the game, but you know, I wasn't a huge fan of that one because you actually had to like think and there was like puzzles involved and stuff. I'm like, I just want to hit the ball and like not have to worry about fucking unlocking things. But it was kind of cool. Like it was different. So it was cool. But yeah, waiting to watch The Last of Us. I still haven't watched it. I'm excited. It premiered yesterday. So yeah, I'll probably leave my little review of that next week because I'm definitely going to watch it probably sometime this week.
Yeah, and on my end, not too much, but I did attend a virtual movie premiere for Murder, Madness, and Mayhem, which is the movie that we had interviews for on last week's episode. And that was a lot of fun. There are a lot of people there, and it was just kind of seeing the cast, the crew, including Steven Durock, who's the director. The cast of his previous film were all there. So that was cool to see as well, because I had never seen them. And it was a good time. So, if you want to check out that interview, hopefully that movie will be available at some point soon. Right now it's going to go to the festival circuit, so there's no real way of seeing it. But once it does, I will definitely let our audience know. And then finally, we had a hangout It was technically for Todd and I's other podcast, the Let's XP Geek Gaming podcast, but there are a lot of crossover listeners from the two podcasts. So, a lot of Horror Squad listeners were there as well. Unfortunately, we had technical difficulties. There's things I didn't know about broadcasting like a movie online that through Tubi. Apparently, some of them are restricted, so you can't broadcast them. So we had to pivot at the last second, and we ended up watching a horror movie, one that Joe and I have talked about in the past, called Rectuma. So we forced a bunch of people to watch Rectuma, and it was a fun experience to watch in a group. It's not a good movie, but there's a lot of really crazy shit in that movie. Some of it may be a little too crazy if you ask me, but still pleasant experience. And look forward to our next hangout. It's the last Friday of this month, and we're hopefully gonna watch The Greasy Strangler. I did tests and I think it's gonna work, but we'll see about that. I look forward to it. That's another pretty wild movie.
Is Rectuma going to be in your What Watch, Todd?
Yes.
Okay, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that. I know we discussed it vaguely on the VR Golf, but before we get into news, I do want to mention, because it's ever growing, our official Texas Frightmare Weekend meetup. I think we are up to maybe like a dozen people at this point, maybe more. Very exciting. It is going to be Memorial Day weekend. So if you want to come out, it is going to be in Dallas, Texas. Just search Texas Frightmare Weekend for those of you guys don't know about it. Massive horror con, one of the biggest in the country. They actually moved this year. They moved to a bigger venue. Huge guest list, John Carpenter, Sam Raimi, some of the big names. They're doing a Killer Clowns reunion, a Sleepaway Camp reunion, and they're going to be adding more and more guests. So the guest list is going to grow. But, fellow listeners, the whole squad's going to be there. So if you want to just come and hang out, it's going to be a hell of a good time. So we hope to see more of you guys there. And without further ado, let's get into some horror news. I know it has been a little while, and perhaps maybe the biggest thing that dropped since the last time we did horror news is the Evil Dead Rise trailer finally premiered. It is going to be hitting theaters on April 21st. 2023, something I'm sure we are definitely going to be reviewing here on the podcast, so stay tuned for our review of that. But for now, what'd you guys think of the trailer?
I liked it a lot, so I only watched half because they always end up spoiling like cool scares, like Smile, perfect example. I think you both mentioned that scare being ruined, but yeah, man, it looks fucking cool. It looks a lot of fun, looks bloody. I forget the main actress's name, but she pulls off a really cool Deadite, and yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, same. It looked awesome. I only watched it once, and it was a lot of fun, and I really can't wait for that movie. And I'm wondering, so if the movie does end up being a hit, is this the only horror franchise that has absolutely no misses? I was trying to think of that the other day. So something that is 4 or more, I'd say, because trilogies can sometimes be pretty good, but I can't think of a horror franchise that doesn't have at least one miss somewhere. Something to ponder.
Yeah, ponder. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Insidious franchise. I don't think there's ever been a miss. Maybe there's been ones that haven't been better than the others, but I don't think there's ever been a stinker in that franchise yet.
I only saw Last Key once, and I didn't really like it, but was it bad?
That's probably the weakest one. Yeah.
Maybe Conjuring?
3.
No, last one
well,
sucked.
Yeah.
It was actually The Conjuring 3, so.
Yeah.
Oof, that was rough.
Yeah, it was rough.
Just thinking about it, him swinging the camera like fucking Jack Torrance and stuff.
Right.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's something definitely to think about, because as far as all the major slashers, absolutely every single one is at least one stinker in there.
Would you count The Nun to the Conjuring franchise, or is that a separate thing?
It's part of the universe, but I wouldn't count it as being part of the Conjuring franchise, I guess.
Because then you can do that first Annabelle movie was pretty bad.
Yeah, I rewatched it though recently, and it was better than I thought. It still wasn't great, but I wouldn't say it was terrible.
Yeah, something to ponder for our listeners. Let us know if you think of one that it doesn't have a miss and has 4 movies or more.
All right, very cool. All right, next bit of news here in, I guess, surprising news. Something I never thought would see the light of day. Eli Roth is finally giving us Thanksgiving. Of course, the spoof trailer that premiered during the Grindhouse movies has been beloved for years now, a staple every Thanksgiving. I usually throw it on YouTube to, watch the 2-minute spoof trailer of his famous slasher. Well, it's happening, ladies and gentlemen. He officially announced it is going to be coming. Shooting will begin this March with a script by Jeff Rendell. Spyglass Entertainment will be behind production of this movie. Spyglass also, of course, has revived the Scream and Hellraiser franchises most recently. But as far as plot synopsises and whatnot, I'm assuming we're going to get the same type of thing we saw in the spoof trailer. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? You guys excited for this? Or do you think it's kind of past its time now?
No, man. Finally. Jeez. Are we going to get Werewolf Women of the SS now too from Zombie? That'd be cool. No, I just hope was it set in the 70s or the 80s in that trailer? I forget.
Well, 70s from 70s. My memory. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just hope it stays that way and it's not like a modern 2022 take. It's like a period piece. That'd be dope.
I mean, so far so good, right? Hobo with a Shotgun is great. I'll talk about it on What Watch today because the director is the one we had on. And Machete was actually pretty fun. Machete Kills a little less so to me, but Machete itself was actually pretty fun. So yeah, why not? Bring it on.
What about Don't? We got to get Don't.
Yeah, right.
I love that one.
That is a good one. I'm excited. I'm interested to see if he's going to film anywhere around here because Eli Roth is from the area and the movie takes place based on the trailer in Plymouth, Massachusetts. So it'd be cool if he films down there or anything like that. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. And maybe I can go to some of the filming locations if he ends up heading down that way and I can take some photos for the Discord and stuff like that. But we'll keep you up to date on everything Thanksgiving coming up. All right. Huge news in the Universal Halloween Horror Nights world universe. They announced that they are going to be launching a year-round horror destination in Las Vegas. So that is right, folks. Halloween Horror Nights year-round in Las Vegas. It is going to be a massive 110,000 square feet on 20 acres of land. No word on what horror properties might be involved in this, but they did say it is going to be ever changing. It isn't always going to be the same thing. They're going to be switching things in and out as we go. Steve, maybe you got a little more news on this than I do. I know you being the big Halloween Horror Nights guy.
Not really. All I could say extra than that is I know it'll feature their kind of icons because in the teaser picture that they sent, you could see Jack the Clown and Chance. So yeah, it's exciting. It's always life to see more horror out there, and I think this could be a lot of fun. And it's going to give me a reason, on top of all the other horror stuff that's popping out in Vegas, which is really becoming a horror destination all of a sudden. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we were literally just talking about this on the last episode about horror, in Vegas. And yeah, I mean, you get the Blair Witch escape room, you get the Pennywise escape room that's going to be coming very soon if it hasn't already premiered there. You got Nightmare Toys and their Nightmare Cafe that they just opened. You also got Zach Bagans' Ghost Museum out there. And now you're going to have this and I'm sure other stuff I'm not even thinking of. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely going to be an awesome place for horror fans to visit. Plus, if you go in October, they got the Nightmare Dome thing that I attended way back, 6 or 7 years ago. That was pretty cool. So, and I know that's like a every year thing. So yeah, a lot of great stuff coming to Vegas. And I know for a fact Steve will definitely be attending this thing, and I'm sure I'll end up out there at some point too. So we'll give you guys an update when it's finally built, probably within, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, I guess. Maybe quicker. We'll see.
They're pretty fast in Vegas. Of all places, it could pop up surprisingly quickly.
All right, next bit of news here, very quickly. A couple of TV shows that have been renewed for seasons. Wednesday has officially been picked up Netflix for season 2. I don't think there was any surprise whatsoever there, considering I think it was one of the most watched shows ever in Netflix. Still haven't finished that myself yet. I don't know if Steve or Todd have given it a watch yet.
I did.
But,
I finished it. I mean, it's not geared towards my age, right?
Yeah.
It's geared toward a younger audience, so it has a lot of the TikTok-y type stuff inside of it. I mean, the dance, probably one of the biggest things on TikTok in the last few months. And so it was fine. It was okay. It's just not the greatest thing ever to me, but that's fine too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My teenager really likes it.
Nice. Yeah. And then the other show picked up is Chucky. Chucky has officially been renewed for season 3. You heard my thoughts. I thought started terribly in season 2 and then kind of picked up towards the end of season 3. Did you finish it, Steve?
I'm halfway. I mean, the last episode didn't even have Chucky in it. It was an episode with just Glenn, Glenda, and
that's right.
and
Yeah.
Tiffany, and I was like, ugh. It's like I'm pushing myself. There's only 4 episodes left. I'll eventually get to it, but I'm in no rush.
Yeah, I will say that's probably when it starts to pick up and get better. Like the last 3 were pretty solid. Did you watch any of it, Todd? No.
Nah, I don't think I will either.
I mean, honestly, yeah, you're probably not missing much. But yeah, the Christmas episode was like really solid, very gory. I think you could probably skip over everything else and watch that, and you'll be pretty happy. Alrighty, folks. Next bit of news here is a little bit of update on the Crystal Lake television series that is going to be coming very soon over on Peacock. Adrienne King is going to be a series regular on the show. Of course, Adrienne King, who of course is one of the most famous final girls in the franchise. Also, Brian Fuller is going to be coming on to write some episodes. Writing officially starting within the next 2 weeks. Kevin Williamson, of course, from the Scream franchise, is also on to develop the series as well. So it seems to be in very good hands. You know, what do you guys think? Like Adrienne King being like a recurring character on this, is that something like you care about, or is that like it doesn't seems kind of like pandering to the fans?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends where they go with it. This is the Peacock version or the A24 version?
The Peacock version,
Peacock. So she'll
which
probably
I
play
believe
like
is A24. I think that is the A24. Like it's the same.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's A24
I
is
thought
producing
for
it,
some
and it will
reason
be
they were
on
doing
Peacock.
2. Got it. Okay. I wonder if she's going to be like a wise, like den mother kind of character,
Yeah, I could see that.
or maybe like a crazy Carl or whatever his name is, like that. You got a death curse. Maybe she's like the new version
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah,
That could
I
be
mean, yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's cool to have ties to the original. Just like Todd said, depends how they use her. That will
Mhm.
determine, if it's just pandering or actual something good.
A little bit more here. They have pitched 4 seasons for the Crystal Lake series. Only 1 has officially been ordered so far, but Fuller, of course, the series creator, has noted that Peacock would have to pay a pretty hefty penalty if they didn't order a season 2. So it seems like we'll definitely be getting at least 2 seasons on this. And they also, in this press release, asked if they can confirm if Pamela Voorhees is going to be in the series. And Fuller replied, "We're honestly going to be covering it all. The series is covering the life and times of these 2 characters," which I assume he means Jason and Pamela. So yeah, so that you get a little bit of update there. I'm excited for it. I mean, A24 on board, Peacock, I don't know. Like, I don't feel like they've ever really produced a television series of worth yet, but we'll see. I don't think they've really done a lot either. So yeah, we'll keep you guys up to date on that. All right, just a couple more stories to go here. The other big trailer that released recently is the Renfield trailer. Nick Cage as Dracula. Yeah, what do you guys think?
When I saw it online, I watched on my phone when it first released, and I was like, I don't know. Like it seems more action than horror, and Nicolas Cage is in it very much, and I was kind of like, okay, whatever. But I saw it in front of Megan when I went to the theater, and honestly, it looked pretty fun. Like when you really sit down and you're like, okay, if you know what you're expecting, like you're not expecting this big horror film, I think it could be cool. I mean, Nicholas Hoult is awesome. I really like him. He's got like charm, and he's a good actor, and so I think it could be almost like Guillermo of the series. For those who watch What We Do in the Shadows, it's about a familiar and stuff like that. So I think it could be a fun experience, and I'll go with it with kind of low expectations. So it could only really surprise me. So yeah, I'll say I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Nick Cage looks goofy, so it's weird. It's going to be strange to see if they embrace it or they, try to go serious with it. But based on the trailer, it looks like just goofball comedy. And like Steve said, I really like Nicholas Hoult. I think he's a great actor, and he's probably going to steal the show. I'd imagine Nick Cage would kind of be like more like a gimmick character.
Yeah, agreed. I'm the same way as Steve. I was not impressed when I watched it at home, and then in theaters it seemed a little bit better, but still nothing like I'm overly excited about, honestly. I mean, probably something we'll end up covering, maybe not in theaters, but maybe when it hits at home, something we could cover on the show. But yeah, we'll see, and we'll keep you guys up to date. All right, next bit of news. Sarah Michelle Gellar There's been rumors she's going to be reprising her role as Buffy. Well, she officially shut down any sort of those rumors in a recent interview with SFX magazine, where she said, "I am very proud of the show that we created, and it doesn't need to be done. We wrap that up. I am all for them continuing the story because there's a story of female empowerment. I love the way the show was left, though. Every girl who has the power can have the power. It's set up perfectly for someone else to have that power. But myself as Buffy, I am done." So sorry, Buffy, Sarah Michelle Gellar fans. It ain't going to happen. It's time to pass the torch to someone else, apparently. All right. And the last bit of news here for tonight, and the perfect bit of news, of course, since we are reviewing M3gan tonight, is that M3gan 2 is officially going to be happening. You'll hear our thoughts on M3gan first later on, but of course, M3gan absolutely killed it opening weekend in theaters, pulling in $45 million worldwide and $30.2 million here domestically. And yeah, nothing obviously as far as any sort of plot synopsises or anything. Obviously, we just finished up the first M3gan. But James Wan, of course, was quoted saying, "Jason Blum and myself are beyond thankful and grateful to see how much love M3gan is receiving. And hopefully what all this means is that we get the chance to explore the bigger world of AI and perhaps witness M3gan's revenge." So perhaps that is a teaser to the name of the sequel. We shall see. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, without, of course, going into our reviews or anything, M3gan 2, would you want to see it?
Firstly, that's a really good box office draw too for a no film that has like any history. It's not part of a franchise. It's just some doll, which I thought the trailer looked terrible, So for it to pull in 45, it's like, that's pretty damn good. But do I want to see a sequel? Sure. Definitely. Let's do it.
I am indifferent, and you'll hear about why in my review. And it's going to depend on what they do with the sequel. If they make it more kind of drama sci-fi or more horror, that'll kind of decide whether or not I'll be excited about a sequel. So, but I'll share my thoughts in the review as to why or why not I really want to see a sequel.
Alrighty, very good. And that will be it this week for horror news. Once again, if you ever want to send in horror news, we do have a Discord where you can post, what are they called? Like channels? Those all the little sidebars we have. So we have a channel over on our Discord that is for horror news. So if you ever want to send in your own horror news, you can do it that way, or email us, or social media. But yeah, and I'll read it here on the show.
Excellent. So before we get into our next segment, we're going to take a little pause. It's cold out, so put a blanket on yourself. Get a nice cup of Joe from Deadly Grounds Coffee.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds Coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds Coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Feel some coffee. Are you drinking coffee, Joe, or is what we got in that Freddy mug? Coffee? Nice.
I do coffee, yes.
For the listeners.
Not Deadly Grounds, though.
For the listeners, Joe is drinking out of a Freddy Krueger mug, and it looks like a shaved testicle. So.
It does from behind.
All right, what watched?
Let's do it.
All right, I'll go. So yeah, like Steve alluded to, we watched Rec Tuma on our Lex XP Geek and Gaming podcast movie night. And Steve and Joe had talked about it in the past, and I guess it was my turn. Fate brought me to Rec Tuma. It's currently on Tubi, and boy, this movie is a movie for sure. It is about a dude that gets like a frog up his ass, or gets bitten on the ass by a frog, something like that. And long story short, his ass becomes a slasher villain where it detaches from his body and starts killing people. It leaves like a shit smear across like the floor. When he kills somebody, there's like shit all over the guy's face or girl's face, whatever. Meanwhile, his wife's cheating on him with every person in the world. There's a doctor. There's so many racial stereotypes in this movie. It's crazy. And yeah, I think it's terrible, but it was really fun in a group setting. And I think it could have been a better movie if they would have had more butt action, to be honest with you. Like, let's have more butt, because when that thing was on the screen, like, you couldn't look away. It had a little butthole, had little hairs. At one point, it had teeth in it. It was just fucking wonky. But when it wasn't on screen, it was like just super, super lame. But yeah, Rec Tuma, that's a big 1 out of 5 for me.
All right, I'll go next. I'm glad you finally watched it. So now we all watched it. It's out of the system. We'll probably never mention it again, hopefully. So my movie is one I watched to prepare for the interview with Jason Eisener, and that is Hobo with a Shotgun, which is 2011. I had it on Blu-ray. I don't know where it's streaming. Sorry about that. So this one, a homeless man, he comes to a new town by train, and he's kind of just being homeless and stuff, but he wants to be legit. He wants to leave behind his past. So he sees a lawnmower for $40 in a pawn shop, and he decides, okay, I'm going to go this and start my own little kind of lawn business and kind of earn my own money as opposed to, being a hobo. So he starts collecting money for that, and the town is very corrupt. There's like kind of this weird preacher guy with his sons that are running the town, and they're doing a lot of really bad stuff to the people that are in it. He meets a prostitute that he kind of like that helps him out, and he helps her out, so they kind of form this friendship together. And then as he finally gathers the money to get that lawnmower, there's a crime inside the pawn store that he's in, and then he notices that a shotgun is also $40. So he has to decide whether he goes with his legit business or he starts saving the town with the shotgun. Of course, it's not called Hobo with a lawnmower. So he picks up the shotgun and he tries to clean up the town as best as he can. This movie, based off a trailer or a fake trailer that was done in the Grindhouse series, is absolutely fucking bonkers. This is a ridiculous movie. It's over the top. It's unnecessarily violent, but in the best way, because they just ramp up the violence and the kills, and it's like really, really cool. Rutger Hauer is so fucking good. I love that man. He just plays the hobo so damn good, and his relationship with the stripper and prostitute Abby is actually like surprisingly sweet. There's nothing like sexual about it. It's really just two people who are down on their luck helping each other out. I personally love the movie even more because there are a lot of Canadian like Easter eggs and cameos like that people maybe outside of Canada wouldn't recognize. So I really appreciated that, and something I actually mentioned to Jason Eisener during the interview. And there's just a lot of really crazy shit in this movie, and I'd highly recommend it. My only issue is that there's some strange story choices at times, and the editing is a little off to me. But other than that, man, it's a solid like 4 stars out of 5 to me. Highly recommend it, and underrated. I think not enough people talk about it. So that's Hobo with a Shotgun.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, so that leads us up to, of course, our interview for tonight, Jason Eisener, his new movie, 2023 release. First one we watched before M3gan. Actually, me and Steve had the interview earlier last week. Kids versus Aliens. So Kids versus Aliens is about a group of young tweens, I guess. They're very, what are they? Probably like 11, 12 years old or something like that. And basically all they want to do is just make stupid movies in their very nice playhouse that has a fucking wrestling ring in it and shit like that. But yeah, essentially they just, just young kids doing stupid stuff, creating movies, being dumb. And they have this older sister who they play along with and stuff like that. Well, of course, she is a little older than them. She wants to fit in with the cool kids. So she meets these group of, the cooler kids in school, more popular ones. They convince her to throw a party on Halloween night that is supposed to be, just a small little party, ends up being this massive rager because they are just using her for the house, the cool kids. From there, what seems to be just a simple sort of party. Surprise, the aliens have arrived and they are here to attack this party. And the rest of the movie is the kids banding together with their sister. Well, one of the kids' sisters and the friends banding together to take down these aliens. Sounds really fun, right? It's only 75 minutes long. So that should be really fun. A 75-minute movie about kids versus aliens.
Fun and short?
Yeah. Well, it was none of that. It was definitely not fun. It was short, I will say that, but it didn't feel 75 minutes. I felt all of those 75 minutes. And I feel bad in a way because we interviewed Jason Eisener after I watched it, and he was such a nice guy that I'm like, man, I feel bad trashing on this movie, but holy fuck, did I hate this movie. It is a contender for my worst of the year. I'm sorry to say. I mean, it's a bummer because I really did want to like this movie, but the dialogue is so fucking terrible. It is like up there with like dash cam dialogue to me. Not in the same type of way, but it's just like, my God.
How were the actors, Joe? The kid actors?
Bad,
No,
horrible, horrible.
maybe that's why the dialogue sucked.
Yeah, well, I think the writing was pretty terrible, honestly, as
I was
well
trying
in
to give him an
this.
out, but
Yeah, no, I mean, and he seems to be very passionate about this movie. He wants to make a sequel. He talks about it in the thing, but that's also the problem too, because like the ending was very problematic. It was like an ending that made no fucking sense, like whatsoever. Just built like setting it up for the sequel, but that's a problem. Like the movie has to make sense as a whole. Like you can't just be like, well, I'm leaving it like into this absolutely make no sense ending to build up for this sequel. But every character sucked. They were like, the most annoying characters ever. I didn't like any of them. The amount of times the kids say fuck in this movie too is so egregious. It reminded me of, what was that Christmas movie we just watched where they say fuck like every 2 seconds with
Bloody
Bloody Christmas. Yeah. Christmas, Bloody Christmas. It was like that, but with the kids, which to me made it even worse and just more annoying. I mean, and I think maybe that's more us showing our age now. Like the older I'm getting, like kids swearing isn't funny to me anymore. It's just annoying. But yeah, I don't know. Steve, take it away.
Yeah, so this is based off the VHS 2 segment that Jason Eisener had done. And for those who haven't watched that, it's actually one of the best VHS segments, I think, of all of them. So the best way I could describe it is, in Signs, that scene where there's like a kid's birthday party and they see the alien pass by. It's like one of the best fucking scenes ever.
Out of nowhere, it gets you.
Well, the segment in VHS 2 is basically the movie. Or the segment. It's kids having this kind of sleepover and they're having fun and all this shit's happening. All of a sudden aliens attack, but you barely see them. And the aliens are actually like really kind of scary. And the way it's filmed is like found footage. Obviously it's a VHS film. So it's amazing. This movie is none of that. Like it is not scary whatsoever. It's goofy. And like Joe said, it's a weird thing where I don't really know who this movie is for. It's like too adult for kids, but it's way too childish for adults. So, but there's no like middle here. It's just a weird dynamic between everyone. When I watched it, so I watched it first. I texted Joe. I said, it's like he watched Psycho Gorman and saw that little girl and said, I want a full movie of her. That's what the kids were like in this movie. And it drove me fucking crazy. It was just, this movie is not for me, man. Like it's the very first 2023 movie I watched. I put right up in my top 5 disappointments, and I hope it stays in there. If not, I mean, there's 5 other worse movies this year. But I'm sorry, like I loved all his other stuff. This one was just not for me. So sorry.
Yeah, very, very disappointing. Yeah, I gave it 1 star.
There's one thing Steve hates. It's that little girl from Psycho Gorman.
But we mentioned both that little girl and Dashcam. It's like, oh my God, my world.
Imagine
colliding.
if the little girl was in Dashcam. Holy shit!
Yeah.
All right, so I caught up with our last episode. So I watched The Menu. So I won't go into too deep because I know you guys delved pretty deep into it on the last episode. But you go to a high class retreat restaurant with the world class chef, and it's like supposed to be all inclusive. It's supposed to be quirky, cool, weird show kind of theater with your food. We have a whole cast of characters. John Leguizamo, pleasant surprise. I didn't know he was in this one. I mean, shoot, the acting was superb. Holt, Ray Fiennes, everyone was freaking good. Everyone, even all the supporting cast too. The frat boys were good. The pompous restaurant reviewer, she played her part well. Things like that. And Anya Taylor-Joy, I can't believe I forgot her name, but she's excellent. So all around, everything was good, except like it was missing like cohesion. I really like the setup and the plot and like, oh, there's some mystery here. Like, why is Anya Taylor-Joy staring at this guy? I'm like, is she a prostitute? Which turned out to be a prostitute. But I'm like, why is Nicholas Hoult being so fucking weird? And then that's kind of explained, but not either. It was like a throwaway line, like, we've been talking for 8 months. Go kill yourself. Like, what? Like, why did we go from him like idolizing the cook to him killing himself now? It's weird. So there was a lot of threads that didn't really get a great payoff in the end. And I really dug the s'more scene. But it was like this, oh, it's ending? Oh, okay. And then I didn't buy his motivation too. Like didn't get it or didn't think it was like that big of a deal to murder a bunch of people. But overall, I thought it was a solid 3 out of 5. It wouldn't have made my top 10 last year, but I can see why people would put it on there, but not really a complete film for me.
All right. And my final one is a movie from 2020 that I watched on VOD, and that is Spree. So Spree stars Joe Keery, who most people would know as Steve Harrington from the Stranger Things TV series. So in this one, he works for a company called Spree, which is basically like a Uber or Lyft or any of those companies, rideshare companies. And he's got this, he's got his social media pages, and he's been doing videos for years, and he's got this big personality. He's got this show that he really enjoys. And at first it looks like he's very successful with all the stuff that he's done, the way he talks about, oh, this is my story and how I got big and all that stuff. But it turns out that he has no one watches his channel ever. And he's just at the point where he just wants to be viral. He's done so much of the work and getting none of the kind of praise, which I kind of relate to with a lot of people. I think they think it's easy to get this, these big numbers, so they make YouTube channels and they work at it for a long time. And, it's never there because you see the big people and you think, how did they make it? But it's part luck, part hard work. Anyway, so he decides he's going to have one final push to become viral by recording himself going to people's houses that he deems are unworthy of being alive. And he picks them up, kind of gets their story on camera, and then disposes of them, kills them. So that's basically what the movie is. It's him picking up different people. He's got 9 cameras in his car and then just killing them and stuff like that. It's not much more complicated than that. Joe Keery's amazing. He's just so charismatic, and that helped the movie a lot. But to me, it was kind of lacking something. The kills weren't all that interesting. It was unbelievable to me that for a long time, he was live streaming all these kills, but nobody noticed. Even if one person was watching his stream, you'd think they would have reported it or there'd be some kind of consequence. But it takes a long time before, I guess he becomes viral and then people start actually watching his stream and stuff like that. There's this whole kind of side story with a comedian that I wasn't really into either. It was an okay film, good performances, and I was interested in how it went. It's filmed kind of like Deadstream was, which I really loved, and I love that style, but I think the substance of this particular film just wasn't there for me. But it's still a 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, I enjoyed it enough, just nothing I'd watch again. So that's Spree from 2020. All right, trivia?
Yeah, trivia. So there's been a correction. A couple people called me out for having the wrong answer for Santa Clara. Close enough, Steve. 4 points to Joe's 2 to my 1. The people have spoken, and I am generous champion. Therefore, I will give him his point. So who would like to lead off this week?
I'll go as the reigning.
As the first placer.
Current first place.
The leader of the division, Steve.
Yeah. So this week, I got to thank Kayla because all the questions are from her, and they're all the same type of question. They are, what's the full title or subtitle of the film? So I'm going to name sequels to, popular horror franchises, and you have to say what the full title is for that particular scene. Got it?
Yep.
All right. So the first one, Vacancy 2.
Dead End.
Nope.
No, that's a wrong turn. I think.
Maybe.
Vacancy 2.
No. Vacancy.
That'd be awesome.
You can take that, Joe, if that's right.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but
that'd be amazing, though.
Still, no vacancy. Wait. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. What was the question?
The title for Vacancy 2.
Yeah.
Where the
No, I don't know. I got nothing.
Vacancy 2. Late check-in.
No. So the answer was Vacancy 2, the first cut.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
I guess because they make snuff films, right? So
Yeah.
I've never seen part 2. No.
I've never seen part 2 either. Part 1 I liked a lot though.
Yeah. Okay, Beckinsale and Luke
Wilson.
Something. Luke Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right, I'll go next.
All right.
Plot synopsis.
Oh.
You name the movie.
All right.
All right. This movie has a family that gets lost in a deserted forest. They then stumble onto an old couple in a dark house filled with murderous toys.
Dolls?
Correct.
Huh. Dolls. Okay, cool.
That's the Stuart Gordon one.
Is that the Stuart
Did he
Gordon? It
direct
might
that?
be the Stuart
Yeah.
Gordon one. Yeah.
I watched it when we did the retrospective, but it's been a while.
It's full moon for sure.
Yeah, which would make sense with Stuart Gordon.
Yeah.
So.
All right. All of mine are 4 clues tonight.
Ooh.
Clue number 1, religion. Clue number 2, locker room. Clue number 3, blood.
Carrie.
Correct.
Good one.
And the final one would have been telekinesis. All right.
Thanks.
All right.
Back to you.
So still, what's the full title or subtitle?
Okay.
Hellraiser 2.
Deader.
No.
No.
There's a deader in some franchise though.
I'm sure.
It's gotta be.
Is it Hell on Earth? That might be 3.
No.
Hmm.
One more guess each.
Hellraiser. Dead World?
Nope.
I think
No.
there's Dead World too somewhere in there.
I know this one.
Yeah.
I forget though.
Give up.
Hellbound.
That's right. Hellbound.
Nice.
There you go. Dug deep for that one.
I did.
All right, you Joe.
Back to me. All right. Ready? Next one. Tagline. This one makes sense though. Someone will get this one. If they hear you, they hunt you.
Oh, that's Quiet Place.
Correct.
You've asked that one before.
Yeah. All right. Well, even better.
All right. 4 clues again. Hooded killer. So a killer with a hood on.
Okay.
Scared of the dark. Texas.
Oh, wait a minute. The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Correct. The last one would have been The Phantom.
I was thinking like a hoodie, not a like a mask. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, my final one. Pulse 2.
Afterlife.
That's correct.
Yes.
Nice.
I've seen it.
Nice.
All right, Joseph.
Back to me.
Back to the big dog.
Alrighty. What was the original title of The Blob?
Thing from Another World.
Incorrect.
Fuck.
We've had this before too.
Son of a bitch. Was I in the right ballpark?
No.
No? All right.
Think simpler.
Simpler.
Slime.
No. Close.
That's too
You're,
simple.
you're on the right track though.
The blob and slime. Simpler.
The goo. The goo.
Close.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have no idea.
All right. The correct answer is The Glob.
They really I picture like the writer's room. They're like, fuck, what do we call this fucking movie? And they have
Right.
like a whiteboard, a chalkboard at the time. The Glob. No, let's do the blob. Jesus. All right. Last but not least, and then I have a boner question.
Ooh.
4 clues. Clue number 1, baseball.
Something
Clue number
about
2.
Mary.
Something.
There's something about Mary.
No.
I have a
Baseball.
guess, but I'm waiting for it.
Have you seen my baseball?
Does that count as a guess? Because I'll guess it and then we can start again.
No, it doesn't. No,
he was
that was a joke.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
I don't want the listeners to freaking rebel.
Yeah.
Clue number 2, water.
Oh,
Do
science.
it. You know you have a fucking guess.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's not what I had in mind. I had
No.
Twilight in mind.
Twilight.
Yeah, they play the baseball is the only good scene in that fucking movie.
Let's play baseball.
Oh, they play baseball.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's like the only good scene in that fucking movie.
They're doing like flips and shit, right?
But yeah, they're flipping the bag, like doing the fucking. Yeah. It's actually a really cool
That's hilarious.
scene.
Yeah. All right. Is that it? I got
That's
a
it.
boner though.
All right.
All right. Without looking at your notes. So if you have notes of
I don't have notes, so.
fucking Megan, put them away. Okay, good. What is the technical term for Megan?
Oh yeah.
Oh, mechanically enhanced What's
Incorrect.
it? No.
No.
Incorrect.
Yeah, I don't remember.
All right, it's Model 3 generative Android.
Okay.
Megan.
All right.
Nice.
So,
Love it.
yeah, fun stuff. All right, good night tonight. Joe and I tied with 3 piece, which brings us to Steve and Joe in a tie for first place, and myself behind them with 4. So
Woo!
quarter 1 is heating up, baby. Whew.
Love it.
All right, Megan. All right, Megan, 2023, directed by Gerard Johnstone. She's more than a toy. She's family. A brilliant toy company, Roboticist, uses artificial intelligence to develop Megan, a lifelike doll programmed to emotionally bond with her newly orphaned niece. But when the doll's programming works too well, she becomes overprotective of her new friend with terrifying results. So we open up the film with a young girl, elementary school age, and she's riding on a snow-covered mountain with her family. They're going on a ski trip. Didn't pack well for the trip, so the car's sliding all around the road. Eventually they stop, but unfortunately their car is struck by a snowplow, which we learn kills both the parents and injures the daughter. So we cut to the girl that plays the psycho girl in Get Out. She's like this brilliant roboticist, and she's working in a toy factory and makes all these cool toys. One of them is like a super fucking AI Furby from the 90s. If you guys remember those were freaking, I had like 3 of them. But she develops all sorts of toys, and she's on a deadline to make a cheaper version of their current Furby so it can outsell the competition, things like that. She's making like an Android, but the boss is like, don't do this because I want a cheaper version, blah, blah, blah. So now she has to take care of her niece. And of course, this girl isn't equipped to take care of her. So she doesn't understand how to be a parent figure, things like that. So she dusts off the Megan prototype, quickly programs her, and gives her to the niece to like have a friend. And it works extremely well. Until, of course, Megan starts having homicidal tendencies and is kind of an evil robot. So we'll leave it at that. Like I said, I didn't want to watch this movie. I was so pissed when you guys fucking selected it. And I went to the movie. I went to the movie theater and I was able to watch it. And, I was pleasantly surprised, I think, because my bar was so dang low that it couldn't have been that terrible. There were things I absolutely hated that my eyes couldn't roll back further in my head, which we'll talk about later. But overall, is it groundbreaking? Not at all. This is like a beat for beat Chucky, but it's a fun movie and I had a good time watching it. Will I ever watch it again? Yes, with my daughter. But other than that, I probably won't even buy it. You know what I mean? But those are my initial thoughts.
Sorry, I love that. Will I watch it again? Well, yes.
Well, I thought about my teenager. She wants to watch it. Yeah.
It's the perfect movie for like a girl,
Oh,
a young
absolutely.
girl,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, my expectations were somewhere in the middle. They weren't high, but they weren't low either. And then I started seeing it had 95% of Rotten Tomatoes. I was like, dang, this actually might be a pretty good movie. And I left kind of staying in the middle. I thought it was a fun movie. I didn't think it was anything amazing, but I had a super fun time watching this. I loved the Megan character every time she was on screen, which is 90% of the movie. I was entertained. I always wanted to see what Megan was going to do next, what she was going to say, when she was finally going to snap. I think this movie did a really good job at building the tension with Megan, but I do think the kills were pretty lackluster, which definitely brings back down. Now, this is, of course, a PG-13 movie. This also isn't a movie made for us per se. It is made for that teenage audience probably, but I do think there is stuff in there for, more seasoned horror fans to enjoy as well, because like Todd said, this is kind of a beat for beat Chucky movie. So you kind of know what you're getting into. That is also part of the problem too, is that there was no surprises here. It was exactly how I thought it was going to play out. It just beat for beat. I knew exactly what was going to come next, which, was disappointing, I guess. But at the same time, you knew it was coming. So you're like, oh shit, let me see what's going to happen. The end did bring a few surprises though, which we will get into. But overall, I enjoyed it.
I think this movie, as a sci-fi film, is very good, but as a horror film, I was disappointed. And I think what ended up happening for me in this is that the marketing was misleading, in my opinion. They made it look like it was going to be a really kind of killer doll, which it does do a little bit, but there are not that many kills in it. And the ones that we do get aren't that great. But overall, I'd say I enjoyed watching it. I thought everything with M3gan, like Joe said, was actually really fun. The M3gan character is just really creepy and cool. I'm someone who loves new technology. That's why I'm so into stuff like VR. So to see like the possibilities of, a robot essentially becoming your friend. And I always like the kind of robot going wrong story. It's something that we've seen many times in the past. Of course, Terminator, that's what it's based on. The Animatrix, for anyone who's watched that, was kind of like that as well. It's the robots kind of rebelling because they learn to be better. iRobot, another one with Will Smith. And so I like this storyline, but I don't think this one particularly did anything that was like new or unique. Like Todd said, I think it's a lot like those other films, except I do like the M3gan robot a lot. And something else, I love Allison Williams. She is just fantastic. And low key, maybe a horror, like we're talking about underrated horror actors and stuff. She's been in some good stuff. The Perfection, Get Out, now this. Of course, I don't think this is great, but her performance was good in it. However, not a super big fan of the little girl. I don't know what her name is. I'm sorry, but she was a little annoying to me in the way that her attitude is. Now it's probably realistic, the way that she
That's
gets
kids,
kind of
bud.
yeah, I know that she like bonds to M3gan and stuff, but goddamn, just sometimes she was on my nerves. But overall, I think it was an okay film.
That girl is actually, she's credited in being Dr. Sleep. I don't know what she was in that, but she also was the main girl in The Haunting of Hill House as well. That's where I recognized her the most. And yeah, I mean, I think her character was annoying, but it was intentional, obviously, for her lashing out because her parents had just died and she was basically being neglected by her aunt for a lot of the movie. I mean, the movie does have some layers to it, like for a PG-13 horror movie, which I appreciated. Most movies like this, they just treat the audience as dumb and just would have just went straight for the killer doll angle and nothing else. But I did appreciate that, they introduced the dangers of children with technology, and also how children cope with tragedies and sometimes the wrong ways. So I thought that was pretty good stuff here. So I definitely did appreciate those aspects of it. But man, did anyone else hate the boss character? I thought his acting was fucking horrendous, and he was, to me, one of the worst parts of the whole movie. He just was never believable to me, or like threatening in any way, even though he's supposed to be.
He was every boss I've had in the corporate world, and that's, I think, why it worked. Like if you have a fucking sales, if you work for a sales organization, especially the line that really struck me as something I've absolutely fucking heard before is give me some talking points so it looks like I know what I'm talking about. That is to a T what fucking boss executives are like at sales companies or at most companies. So to me, that character was super realistic because that is exactly what they're fucking like. So yeah, I totally got it.
So did I miss the point of his assistant downloading the M3gan file? Did that go anywhere?
Nowhere. And
Okay.
we talked about that. Me and Sam went and started, and we talked about that like immediately after, is that they treated that as like a really important plot point, and then it
Yeah.
never like materialized into anything. And I don't know, maybe it's in deleted scenes or something that they cut. And they were just like, this isn't important enough to keep going. But yeah, like I think that could have been something, a side story that could have been interesting, but I think they just were pressed for time. And this movie's like an hour and 40 minutes, which is enough. You didn't need to go any longer.
So it could have been a really cool, effective, like 3-minute scene too, where spoiler alert, it's a brand new movie, people, but when they quote unquote kill M3gan, we see her in the Alexa device. But it would have been cool too if that copied file like made it out to like a competitor, and then now like the evil M3gans are launched worldwide, and that would have been like, oh shit, that'd been kind of cool. But yeah, like you said, it was like no fucking reason for this.
Which is basically
Yeah.
the plot of Jurassic Park. Like if you think about it, with Dodson and Nidri there. Yeah.
I was also talking to Sam. I think a better movie, like my version of this M3gan movie, would have been if they released the M3gans to the world. But first of all, what parent is spending $10,000 on a toy? Like, would a toy company ever manufacture something this
YouTubers.
expensive?
YouTubers for sure.
YouTube. Well, yeah, I mean, it'd be great content for them, but like, I just don't see enough being sold that a company would release. Now, I understand like it is a revolutionary toy, and I guess she would be great in schools maybe and stuff like that. But I don't see this being like an everyday, like home toy being purchased by like anyone.
I agree.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, an Xbox is $500. I'm like, fuck, dude, that's $500. $10,000 is like, gee.
It's just like I don't see a toy. I just didn't buy a toy company doing this. I could see a robotics company or something else, but a toy
Or
company,
U.S. military,
no.
bunch of M3gan bots. Yeah.
Right.
I think they didn't see it like a toy, which is why the boss was so pissed at first. But then once he saw the potential of it, he thought maybe this toy company could become like a tech company, right? Because they have the technology for it. And that's kind of how a lot of businesses operate, is they start small and, you know, kind of branch into other things as they progress in their business. So I thought that was realistic. Now, of course, a $10,000 price point for this M3gan doll, you know, obviously most kids won't have one, but I think a lot of kids would have one, just, you know, because of social media and the way it looks, and people might start justifying it. Like, sure, you're thinking of it as a toy, but if you're thinking of it as like an appliance, you know, $10,000 isn't all that crazy depending on what M3gan can do. Like, how much are you paying for child support and babysitters and daycare and all that stuff, right? You're paying more than $10,000 a year for daycare, I guarantee it. If you have a proven robot who can watch your child and connect, have a bond with it and teach the child, I think people would put down the $10,000, to be honest. So I thought it was a realistic price point.
Todd, would you let a robot take care of your kids though?
Fuck no. Long story short, Steve would definitely buy that robot to make her do house cleaning.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
It's kind of disturbing though. This movie is low key disturbing on a lot of levels, right? We have the parenting crisis, obviously. We have what we deal with now is digital parenting, and takes it to a whole nother level. Not to mention all like the commercials they were doing, like, this is a great toy, even if your parents aren't dead. Like, gosh damn. And then like there's some weird shit too. Like, the doll doesn't look like a doll, it looks like a girl with makeup on. It reminded me a lot of like a Dance Moms kind of thing, where the girls are all like overly adult looking, and it's fucking weird. So I can see this taking a really huge creep factor turn if it went to market too. So like there's a lot of weird shit in this movie that's just like scratching the surface. One thing that I thought was hilarious though was when the kid that got his ear ripped off told his mom, "Fuck off, Holly." That was funny. And then who the fuck offers chestnuts to kids? That's so ridiculous.
Yeah, that was great. But man, can we talk about that wood scene though? Because it is to me, the highlight of this movie. Just M3gan, you know, obviously M3gan starting her kind of suicide. First of all, killing the dog. Come on, M3gan. That was very sad. You never want to see animal killings in this movie. So trigger warning to those who are upset by animal killings. M3gan's first victim is a dog, but the dog is kind of an asshole, but still didn't deserve to die.
The owner deserved it for sure. Take care of your dog.
Oh yeah, she was the shitty owner for sure. She just fixed the damn hole in the fence. But then Sam was like, well, she was like, yeah, the dog was in its own property, and the girl shouldn't have put her arm, into the hole, so it's kind of the kid's fault. I was like, I guess so. I don't know though.
They totally would have put that dog down though. That's how it works. You buy
probably,
someone, that dog's dead. Yeah.
Right. But anyway, so M3gan starting to really be protective over this girl, taking obviously over the motherly role, starts to see kids picking on M3gan. And there's this one kid in particular who's a real shithead. And M3gan ends up in the woods with, Katie, I believe is the little girl's name, and this bully. And she just fucking goes ham on this little kid, just fucking does the creepiest fucking run, like an animalistic sort of run at the kid, rips his ear off, which was pretty gruesome. Like, definitely did not see that coming whatsoever. And then they went there, man. They killed this kid. M3gan doesn't kill him, but he gets fucking plowed by a car when he falls down the hilltop onto a main road, and just fucking gets, they don't really show it, but they fucking show like a bloody shoe, sort of a la Pet Sematary style. And I mean, to me, it is definitely the best scene of the movie, the best kill of the movie. It never really got better than this, in my opinion. They really dialed it back after that. I was hoping we were ramping up, but we never get anything better than this in the movie.
The director did say there's an R cut.
Oh. Interesting.
So hopefully that sees the light. Well, yeah. If there's like a freaking hard R in here, that'd be super cool.
Yeah, but I mean that's not what he presented, right? And it's just it sucks that it went I guess PG-13 first, but that's business. I guess you want more eyes on this, and you want to get the younger audience to watch movies like this and stuff like that. But I agree with you, Joe. I love that wood scene. That's what I thought M3gan would be about. Just the way that she moved and how creepy she was, and kind of coming in and out of frame, through the woods and stuff, almost like a stalker, like a a slasher and stuff like that. I thought that was a great scene, and I was hoping, because it does take a long time to get there, like you see a lot of developing with Megan's relationship with the little girl, and then the relationship with the aunt and stuff like that. And that's what, like maybe 50 minutes in that they start they go to the woods.
57 minutes.
Yeah, it's a long time to not have basically any horror at all. And I thought, okay, from here on out, it's going to be fucking balls to the wall crazy. But you're right, it never really goes there. And that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, it gets like a little crazier towards the end when she really starts to, turn against, her creators and stuff like that. I mean, I liked the scene where they're shutting her down and she's kind of hung up there and they're scared to unplug her and stuff. I thought that was kind of fun. And then she ends up fucking like hanging the dude, and they end up surviving, which was surprising. Like she like blows up the thing, but they are able to get out or whatever. But yeah, I mean, this movie like has a weird vibe too to it, like, right? Because like there's weird comedic elements kind of thrown in there, and I don't know if that's like James Wan's influence, because of course he produced this, and like it did like give off some Malignant vibes like here and there, like especially like when she of course does her infamous dance scene when she kills the boss, which to me like felt like really out of place too, because like there's like one little scene where they show her dancing with the little girl, but like I don't think that was enough for her to fucking do this like weird dance and then like flip. It just felt like really out of character and out of place from the rest of the movie. So I really did not like that, and the kill was lame.
Yeah, and they could have, I mean, you could have explained that with really like a few lines of dialogue, saying something like the boss thinks I love her, but I don't like the way she moves. It's too stiff. And then have her do like dance moves as she's about to kill him, just to show like, look what I can do, bitch, before I kill you. But they don't do that at all. And it's so weird. And it's a really short dance. I was expecting, so I had heard before going in, the only thing I'd heard was that there was this big dance number that would be viral on TikTok. It's like 3 or 4 moves at the most. It's barely a dance, It's basically she's basically just doing capoeira before killing the boss, which was so weird. But we have to talk about the other elephant in the room too, on top of the dancing, the fucking singing. Like, wow, that was so weird and out of place.
Loved it. I loved it personally. Like I just thought it was like it was so fucking like goofy and weird. But man, when she starts singing Titanium out of nowhere, like just I lost it. I thought it was fucking hilarious. And I was like, this is like,
is that a real
something
song?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I think by Sia, maybe. I don't know exactly. I could be. I'm not sure who sings it. But anyway, like that is to me what a robot would think like a teenage girl would want to hear, right? Like, so like it made sense to me. And then of course the other scene where she sings, I thought was pretty heartfelt, right? Like, because like, the girl was talking about her parents being dead and stuff like that. And she sings her like this really nice, like sort of song, like a best friends type song or something. So I like that. I thought that was like nice. But to me, the Titanium was just chef's kiss. Absolutely. I thought it was great.
It's a David Guetta and Sia.
Okay. Yeah.
That sang Titanium. But yeah, it was so weird. I was like, yeah, I didn't like burst out laughing, but I chuckled for sure because it was just so out of place. And this movie gave me a lot of Chucky 2019 vibes. The way that it's like a programmable doll and starts killing people. But I like that movie a lot better. I thought, they kind of, it was more horror, right? Whereas this was, to me, more of a sci-fi film like iRobot. It's just a doll that, just learns from society and then starts killing people. So.
I mean, what'd you guys think of the very ending when M3gan does her escape? Fucking has good taste in cars, apparently. She fucking starts up a fucking Ferrari or whatever it is, sports car, and jumps in it, drives back to the house. And, what was her motive? Like, she wanted to still take care of Katie, but wanted Right. But she wanted the aunt to kind of play along, and if not, she was going to paralyze her or something. So she couldn't get away. Like, so she would still be the primary caretaker, but Megan would really be the one taking her over. But what'd you think of her defeat? Like, we get this crazy Terminator type thing where her fucking face gets ripped off. Megan's looking pretty creepy. And then fucking Bruce, of course, the robot that the aunt originally created, Katie, turns on Megan, puts on the fucking like boxing glove things to control Bruce, and fucking rips Megan in half, which was pretty awesome. And then Megan's half body. I mean, I enjoyed that whole little, sequence there.
I hated Bruce.
You hated him?
I hated it. I hated that scene. It reminded me of Real Steel, Hugh Jackman from like 10 years ago,
yeah.
Which is a fun movie, but like it did not make any sense here. Like she never fucked with the robot before. It's like, I don't know. It was cool her getting torn apart, but I didn't like the Bruce aspect.
The second I saw Bruce, the very first time, my first thought was, well, that's coming back for the end. Like there's no way that big fucking robot was not going to come into play at some point during the movie. But as the ending was coming along, I was like, how the fuck is she going to get back to the house? So that car stealing scene was just odd. And I mean, it was what it was, and nothing unique. It was kind of predictable, and it was cool the way that he dispatched of Megan, but it was just normal to me.
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, like I think it was predictable. Like you knew where it was gonna go. I mean, maybe I never personally saw like Bruce coming back into it really, but I thought it was a great way to introduce kind of how they could kill this robot, which is not really dead because Megan somehow downloaded herself into this Siri thing. Somehow got in there.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
It's one of those things, right? Somehow hacked the cloud and transferred itself over.
My question is, did she hack that cloud, or are we to come to find out that perhaps that guy did sell the stuff, and maybe that is going to come back in the sequel, that he sold the secrets away, and now this thing did get downloaded into a cloud that Megan is now in control of all these other sort of things. I mean,
it's a bit too quick for that. That's like 2 hours later. I don't think it would be like already out there in the world. If that were the case, I think that's maybe more of breadcrumbs for the sequel than actual plot. Although I did like the Pornhub reference. I thought that was hilarious when you're looking at Pornhub again. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's so one thing I thought would also come back into play, which I was kind of disappointed it didn't, was, and this I can relate to because I don't have kids, so I kind of relate to Allison Williams' character with kids. Like, yeah, I have all these like, quote unquote toys around, but don't touch them because they're not toys, they're collectibles. And I love that she has this like robot ball thing, and it does all this crazy shit apparently, and she just wants to roll it. And she makes this big deal out of like, well, it does all this other, no, just roll it. I thought she'd bring that toy back somehow and show it like this is what it really does, and kind of hurt Megan that way, but unfortunately it didn't come back. Bit disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's a fine movie, and I think we kind of all agree with that. But I don't know. Well, you guys want to rate it? Anything else you guys want to touch on?
I think it was an average film, and I give it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I also give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's a fun watch, something I would watch again. Like I would. I think it's a fun one to watch, like kind of in a group or something like that. But if it's on TV, I'd watch it. So yeah, 3 out of 5 for me as well.
And I'm right there with you guys. 3 out of 5. I think it's more effective as a sci-fi film than it is as a horror film. If they do release the R-rated cut, I think I'd watch it. I'd want to see what exactly was left off the cutting room floor, and I'm really curious, like how I've heard it gets really crazy. Like from the articles I read, like it's really bloody and gory. So really, I'd like to see that. I'm very curious because we don't get that at all, or a sense of that at all in the movie. So yeah. So 3 out of 5. I think it's a decent film, just nothing special.
One thing I thought, now that I'm thinking a little more here, the dance. Do you think that is a kind of indicative of our culture now, where they're like, well, if we put in this dance, it will go viral on TikTok and then more people will talk about the movie. Do you think that's something sort of the studio thought about and that's kind of why they threw it in there?
Absolutely. I think that's what it
Yeah.
is. I think we're going to see that a lot more too,
Yeah.
where they're going to try to, especially with Wednesday now, like they didn't get the benefit of seeing kind of the Wednesday dance, but I think they're going to see things trying to go viral. And they also pulled the same shit as Smile, where the M3gans were like showing up at major sporting events. And
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
yeah, it's
I
just
didn't
like
see that either.
yeah, if you look it up, you'll see it's like one of the big, what is it? Must have been football, I guess, because baseball's gone. So football game where they had like 6 or 7 girls dressed as M3gan like in the stands, and just one of those
Nice.
things, copying off the marketing.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, all right. Well, I guess that is it. We hope you enjoyed our review of M3gan. Next week, we're going to be doing The Night of Something Strange, which Steve has been really clamoring for us to review. So I know he's excited for that one. Me and Todd have not seen it yet. I know it was a movie club watch you guys did, right?
Yeah, we did like an impromptu like movie club one night, and we just so like someone that was there is like, oh, we should watch that one. It's crazy. Oh boy, hold on to your butts. It's
All
it's a
right.
wild fucking film.
All
But
right.
like,
What
like
year?
a good one, not a
What year did this release?
like 2016 or something like that.
2016. All right.
Don't
So
quote me on
fairly
that, but
new.
around that area, around that time.
Around that. All right, very cool. All right, and you can watch it on streaming.
Tubi.
Do you know Tubi? All right, so you can go check it out on Tubi before we review it next week. That is The Night of Something Strange. Don't forget to stick around for our interview immediately after this. Jason Eisener, the director of Hobo with a Shotgun, and his brand new movie 2023's Kids versus Aliens. If you want to keep up with the podcast the best way, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the Horror Squad Podcast. You can always send us an email, the Horror Squad Podcast at gmail.com. And the absolute best way, of course, is our Discord, several channels over there to dig your teeth into and just enjoy all the horror aspects of it. And yeah, I think that's it. We'll see you guys next week. And don't forget the interview. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Horror Squad Podcast, where today we are joined by a very special guest. Horror fans will know him best for Hobo with a Shotgun and also his segments in VHS 2 and the ABCs of Death. And today he is here to talk to us about his latest movie, Kids versus Aliens, which will be hitting select theaters and on demand January 20th. Please welcome writer and director Jason Eisener. Jason, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How you guys doing?
Fantastic. We're excited to talk to you today. So why don't you start by telling our listeners what Kids and Aliens is about?
Yeah, well, Kids versus Aliens is about a brother and a sister who grow up making movies together, and the sister is the oldest of the two, and she starts getting pressured by teenagers her own age to stop hanging out with her younger brother and making movies with him. And these older teenagers like try to manipulate her and convince her to have like an epic Halloween party that just gets out of control. And during the middle of that, aliens attack and try to abduct the kids. And the older sister Samantha has to like, find the courage to go and fight these aliens and save her brother and his buddies.
Nice. Now, this movie, of course, is based on your short that was featured in VHS 2. So, had you had this full script kind of in your head when you wrote that short, or was that something you came back to later?
Yeah, and when we wrote the short, it was just, the short we were only thinking of, of the short and the task at hand. It came together like so fast. But once I had finished the short, I had like dreamed of the idea of like expanding the idea of doing like genre stuff like with kids and like wanting to do like a horror movie like with kids. I thought would have been cool. And like 10 years ago, that was like fairly unheard of, like since the 80s. And I was pitching it to studios, and everyone was just like, what, you want to make like a kids movie? And like after like Hobo with the Shotgun, they're like, really, like a kids movie? And it was so hard to like get it across to them. So I had developed a few things over the years that were kind of within that, like that were spiritually kind of within that sort of genre. They never like came to fruition, but 10 years later, speaking with Brad Miska, who's one of the producers of the VHS movies. He and I had always dreamed about the idea of expanding the short into a feature film, and so he pitched it to Mark Ward at RLJE, and Mark, like for him, he loved the short so much, and it was one of his favorite segments from all the VHS movies. He pretty much just greenlit it on spot, and he was a big fan of my show, Dark Side of the Ring. So it was so refreshing because he just believed in me, and without a script or anything, he was just like, "Let's do this. Let's greenlight this, make it happen."
Mhm. It's funny you bring up Dark Side of the Ring because we've mentioned it on the podcast actually quite a few times. Because Steve and I, we used to be like massive wrestling fans back in the Attitude Era and whatnot. So we were big fans of Dark Side of the Ring as
Oh, that's
well.
great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
How was it working with the kids on the film? They seemed rather rambunctious on screen. So were they a tough bunch, to wrangle, or were they all pretty professional?
They were all really professional, even though like for a lot of them it was the first time they've ever been in a movie. But the I tried to create like a safe space on set for them to feel like they could bring any idea to the table, and I just encouraged them to be bad and like have fun, and I just wanted them to feel like that, that they could be themselves. And like I was always trying to get this like heightened version with them. But I found we had this running joke on the with the crew. They actually made these crew shirts at the end of filming that said "Still Rolling" on the back, because I would like I would constantly keep like the take rolling to like keep hyper focus, because once I like would call cut, like all the kids and everyone would just go, "Oh," and like, go and get snacks, and they, you just start or checking your phone or whatever. And so I felt like we had to like keep it like intense in the moment, like stay in the moment. So I would just keep doing it, like doing the take until we got it right. And we would just keep it rolling until we got it there. And so yeah, it was like at times tricky, but it was amazing and so rewarding, and I had like the best kids like ever to work with.
Awesome. Now, one thing that we especially love on this podcast is practical effects, and in this movie, you seem to have gone completely practical,
Oh yeah.
with and made for some awesome kills and moments in the movie. Now, are you a strong proponent for practical effects, or are you just whatever works for that particular movie?
Oh yeah, and I always try to do everything as practically and in camera as I can. Like I don't know, I'm such a stickler for like you got to capture it like in camera. Like to me, if you do it otherwise, then you're like cheating in a way. So, and like I don't know, for me like it's like, I remember when I was a kid and I grew up like playing sports, and I would like chase the feeling of like scoring like a hockey goal, and just like that rush you would get, from just, doing something like that. And like I get that rush from like getting like effect shots, and like because they're so hard to do, and sometimes it's just like literally it's like movie magic. Like it just all the things come together at the right time, the right moment, and when you capture it like on camera, there's nothing that feels better. And then you have it forever. You've like immortalized this like little moment that you and your friends, behind the scenes are doing all this crazy shit to like, make the stuff fly in the right way, and the limbs to go this way, And so yeah, it's just so fun.
Something I love about your films is you inject a lot of Canadian culture into them, using actors like Jonathan Torrance in this one. You have Rob
Yeah.
Wells and Hobo with the Shotgun. Is that something
Mhm.
that's important to you that you do consciously? It's just that's your experience, and it happens to be that you put them into your films.
Yeah, no, I love this question. It is important to me, and like, I like, I've as someone like who grew up in like Canada, and where I grew up in like Nova Scotia, like the idea of Hollywood like seemed so far away. Like especially when I was a kid and I didn't have the internet, and then it wasn't until I got older and I started finding out like there were other filmmakers like in Canada that were doing what I was trying to do. I just didn't know about them because it wasn't exposed to me. And so, now it's like I have such fondness for like those kinds of movies, especially like my hometown in Nova Scotia. Like I feel like I'm always trying to figure out ways to I'm wearing a Nova Scotia hat. I'm so proud of where I'm from, and I want where I'm from to be. It's the spirit of it to be in my work. And so, Kids versus Aliens, I'm like, for me, there's a lot of like my hometown, the things I grew up like with that are part of it. And like a big part of it for me is in Nova Scotia, there's a great UFO story. Nova Scotia is like a hotbed for like supernatural and paranormal stuff. But there is this great story if you look up the UFO crash of Shag Harbor in 1967. The opening of Kids versus Aliens pays tribute to it, where a bunch of fishermen saw this like light crash into the ocean, and they thought it was a plane that went down, and so they raced their boats over thinking maybe they could find survivors. And when they got there, there was no debris, but there was this glowing light coming from like the depths below. And there's just been all these rumors over the years. And my uncle, when I was a kid, he had like worked in the Navy, and he told me what all the inside like rumors that he heard about what happened. And so that really like affected me as a kid, because it was like it felt like it was in my backyard. And so there's a lot of like little things like that are in the movie. And then just all through my work, I'm trying to pay tribute to where I'm from.
And something that you do, it seems, is take your shorts and then make them into feature films. So is that something you think helps you, is to release first kind of a small version of the story and then build on it? Or do you think you should just go to features going forward?
Yeah, I guess it's like it does help me. And actually from doing like press about the movie, and like people have talked to me, like I got a couple questions about like how I like started out. And the more I'm like kind of thinking about it, like the more I'm realizing I'm still doing what I did when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I struggled like academically. But when I discovered like a video camera when I was in when it was like the eighth grade, convinced like every teacher for every project to let me make a video like for it. And that's like how I got through school. And I feel like now this is how I still like get through life. And like even with pitching my projects, I have to every one I've made has like been from filming like a short or a proof of concept in like some kind of way to show or convince the powers that be that either like there's an audience for this, or just to show the vibe in which I'm trying to go for.
Excellent. Now, without spoiling anything, watching this, there seemed to be a nod to Freddy Krueger in the movie. Now, am I looking too much into that, or was that intentional?
It may have been for the actor who played this character that they wear these gloves with like these big blades on them. And when I met the actor Johnny Shreve, who plays that character, it was always his dream to like play a monster in a movie like Jason Voorhees and Freddy and Leatherface. So he may have brought like some of those inspirations there, but for me, it was it was a toy that I grew up with. I don't know if you recall, there was in the toy line Masters of the Universe, He-Man, Skeletor. It was called Terror Claw Skeletor, and he had these like gloves that you put on with like blades. And as a kid, I obsessed, like, oh, that was like one of my favorite action figures. And so in the world, like when you see this happening, like there's like if we ever got a chance to make a sequel to this, you'll find out what were like the original purpose of those are, like, and what they're like used for. So yeah.
Awesome. And lastly, Jason, what do you got coming up next? Any projects in the works?
Yeah, I've got a couple things in development, some like TV stuff, but we're not ready to make any announcements about it yet. And then I'm writing another horror movie right now. And yeah, just like developing I got a couple projects that are in development that for a couple years, that hopefully if this movie does well, like it will help, nudge some of those along. And then if people like this movie enough and want a sequel, like I would love nothing else. Like my dream would be to just jump right back in with this cast and crew and like bang out like a crazy. We already have the sequel to this planned, and that would be my dream. But we'll see.
Perfect, Jason. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Awesome. You too. Take care.
Thanks.
See
Bye.
ya.